Hello and welcome back to Planet Coaster. Where we left off last time was the Loch Ness Monster. In this episode, we want to go ahead and finish it up. Now, my overall goal for this wasn't necessarily to make a 100% accurate recreation. This is more or less practice for me because I need to get better at coasters, and this seems like a logical thing to do. Go ahead and make a recreation, or at least a loose recreation, and then you will hopefully take what you learn from doing this into things that you make yourself. So here at the beginning, where I'm just going to gray box out a little bit of a deck patio area, because there is a long, almost like a pier almost, and it goes through this little bit of the river or local kind of water area, and this is going to be part of the blueprint as well. Now, it's not really necessary to do this as part of the blueprint, but I wanted to capture at least some of the key elements around the coaster, be that the actual queue line to this wooden deck that is down beneath it, and a staircase from that lower area back up towards the queue. And this, again, still isn't 100% accurate. If I wanted to be 100% accurate, we would have to be adding things like custom supports for the coaster. We would be adding a lot more custom sceneries, like decorating the actual pier down here, but I think I want to leave it somewhat generic enough, because since we will be saving this as a blueprint, I want it so you guys can make it fit your park if you decide to use this coaster once the 4,000 part limit is out. So we're just going to put some trees, we're going to put some other decorations around so that you are able to tell roughly how high the terrain should be in the area, and also go ahead and fix some minor things with the coaster. I already changed the slope of the lift hill and also slowed it down so that it feels a little bit more realistic to the actual ride itself. There's still plenty of things wrong with the coaster if I had to point them out. From the loops being slightly misshapen and slightly pulling too many G's, and the custom supports missing, things like that. Also, the station, it was brought to my attention that the exit is actually on the other side of the entrance, and then there is a platform that goes over top the track. I wanted to try and go ahead and capture that. However, due to, I guess, the scale of things and also the way the pathing would have been laid out, the coaster station would have had to be widened pretty significantly to get that path in there and then up and over the station exit. So that wouldn't have looked right. I would almost have to rebuild the station completely, and I didn't really have the drive to want to do that. This is more about the coaster itself with a little bit of the details added in there just to make it, feel a little bit more authentic. So we are leaving the queue and entrance kind of as is, as it's not super high on my priority. I care a little bit more about just getting this roughly detailed in. But we will be using copy and paste and make this custom wooden deck. Now, not all of this thing should be wooden. I just prefer that look for this. There are some concrete pillars and posts that should be connecting up to the coaster as well, especially around the loops. The loops have a whole custom framing element around that to make it look supported. Well, not look supported. I'm sure it's actually supporting the structure. And then also there are other juts and things that I'm just not capturing to its full extent. So don't butcher me too much in the comments here. This is more or less, again, just a practice kind of thing, and I'm just going to upload it to the workshop in case you guys want to mess around in it. Use that as a base for something else in your park, and just because I think it's a cool coaster. I do plan on going to Busch Gardens this year and riding this one, the Alpengeist, and maybe Apollo's Chariot. That's the one I probably most hesitant to ride, just because it is one of those airtime coasters, and I'm not a big fan of going really fast in an almost vertical drop. It's not something that, I'm not really built for doing that stuff, but I think I should probably give it a go. I didn't last time I was there many years ago, so I should probably redeem myself at this point. But using this gray boxing technique that we covered in this week's kind of coaster tutorial series gives me a rough idea of how big this kind of pier is going to be, and it also helps with just making a tile set for it and moving things around quickly and efficiently. I'm not going to cap off the pier. There's technically a ride all the way down at the end of it where I think it's like a water tour or some type of boat ride where you can go onto the water. Not really part of the coaster, so I figured I would just leave it open-ended so you guys can incorporate a path to the best of your ability to match what I'm making here. Also, this staircase is a little bit special. It's not really a functional staircase. It's more of a decorative staircase, simply because the stair tool that we have in the game won't make a compact staircase like this. You know, you need to go full grid increments, and this is using half grid landings, so 2 meter wide landings instead of the 4 meter wides. And that one gives us more of these plateaus to work up of, and I think it looks a little bit cooler like that. But it just, I don't think can be worked in Planet Coaster. So that might be changed if you guys decide to use it and actually make it into a functional park, but I'll leave that up to you to decide, or you can make the path kind of wrap around in different ways. But it would be cool for sure to have some people down below on the wooden pier area, just so they can get a good view of the coasters going through the loops. And currently they are still roughly in time. You know, they don't really desync at all. I haven't tested it with people on it, so I don't know if the unloading loading times of the guests will affect it. It most likely will, and will most likely probably break the timing of things. So but right now there's 4 coasters on here, and they all go through fairly well. Now, all these trees and things, very similar to what you do in most parks and around a lot of coasters that just kind of follow the landscape. You're going to kind of create a wall of green separating certain elements from each other, using different heights and a little bit slightly different colors to bring out different areas to the best of your ability. And this also is a very heavily forested area. So, you know, there's a lot of greenery and things. Now, a lot of my reference pictures, just so I could see the coaster, I think it was a little bit more in, say, autumn, late, or early winter. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of greenery that I was referencing at the time. I was more or less just kind of making it up as I went, just to make it fit into the landscape that I sculpted. And I think this is just something that I wanted to do, more or less. It's not really necessary, especially painting the terrain around the track there, where they kind of walk along and inspect the thing. But because, well, that's not going to be saved with the blueprint. That's just a little bit of flavor to make it look a little bit more believable. And for me, believability kind of trumps realism a little bit. When you ride the thing here after the speed build, you'll notice that it does feel fairly authentic. I don't know quite how well, just because I haven't been on it in a while, but it, you know, from the POVs that I've seen, it does match up nicely enough for at least what I was trying to accomplish in this little 2-episode series. So, pretty happy with it. A little bit near the water, just some plants and things like that, and we'll also end up putting some stonework a little bit on these hillsides so that it kind of breaks up the surface there as you go up and over them. And at this point, we're pretty much done with the speed build. So we're gonna go ahead and cut to real time so you guys can see that running through a little bit, and then we will take it for a spin. Okay, so here we are at real time, taking a look at our wonderful little creation here. And everything, as I said, I really enjoy the looks of it. You know, both coasters going through these loops at the same time and really just giving off the feel of the Loch Ness Monster. Now, you know, as I said, there would be a lot of custom supports, especially in this area by the pier. There would be a lot of concrete kind of inset pillars here at the bottom, raising that above the water level. And then also there is kind of these overhead support arches that actually hold up the loops themselves. There's some vertical ones, like for example, this one here would stay. And I think also maybe this one. and a few of the other just straight vertical pillars. So that's something that, you know, needs to be looked at and changed. But overall, I think it gives off a good vibe. And with the, you know, greenery in place and the water down here, kind of this access road beneath the station. No guests actually really come into this area. You get the 2 kind of storage bays for the cars. The nice reworked slope, which I did slow down the speed of that as well to 6 miles an hour. It was at 8, so slow that down by a little bit. Also added some more braking over here after the tunnel area so that this lift hill seems a little bit more functional. That's something that I think I got pretty wrong, is this area in here, just because it feels like on the POV that after they're done in the tunnel, this lift hill is almost completely necessary. However, if I didn't put brakes here, it wouldn't be. You know, getting up that is really not a tall order for how quickly it goes. It does affect the overall rating of the ride itself, but I think it's okay for what I want, really. And there they go, looping around each other yet again. So it's a very, very clean ride, and that's why I like it. Though I'm sure a lot of people will say Aero doesn't make smooth rides like this, and that's fine. I do, so that's all that matters. Anyways, let's go ahead, show you guys the stats, and then we'll ride this thing. So right now, the excitement's 3.68. It's not much. It's simply because of the slow parts and how long the ride is. So if you go to the heat maps of the excitement, you can see this loop, kind of the helix here, is losing excitement the farther down you get, which is fine. But this lift hill here really drops it down because you're slowing way down to about 8 miles an hour and then going through this slow bend. But really, this coaster excels at kind of building tension and excitement over time. And that's what the long, slow lift hill does. However, in the game, it just doesn't feel like this helps the score. I think that's something they might... I wish I could rebalance some of this. Like, the ride starts more or less here and ends here. And see about cutting out these dead zones and seeing what the score is. Because without them, you know, it's probably about 7 excitement. You know, because once you're in the loop, it's 9.7 at the bottom of the first loop there after you go through it. Almost 9 here at that airtime hill. Over 10 in this corner. So there are some really exciting and fast areas in it. The fear is very high, 6.21, and I think that, you know, it's kind of what the coaster is supposed to do. It kind of builds up a lot of tension. But also the fact that I get the G-forces on these loops completely wrong. This top loop here, the excitement's so high, probably because they're pulling about 8 Gs. That's way too many. You know, fighter pilots kind of start blacking out at 6. So that's just way too many Gs to be in there. This loop would need to be completely reworked. The lower one pulls about 1.5, and I think that's a better loop. So this upper one needs to be looked at a little bit. But you guys can take a look at that. Nausea, 1.87. So, you know, doesn't make anyone sick. And I think that's a great thing right there. If I actually show you guys the vertical G-force, so you can see it really, really pulls it up through there. Isn't that great? But it's a game, so that's fine. It's working out for us. We got the nice color scheme of the carts. You guys did correct me on the colors. Added some red and gold on the sides and also on the front there. Now, sadly, it doesn't say Loch Ness Monster on it. It says the American Aero, but they gotta be generic, so that works out just fine. The queue line itself, there would be a path over here where these posts for the lift hill are that actually lead back down towards this direction. More greenery space, just to kind of tuck away the station itself and make it look really filled in and detailed. And that's about it. So we're going to go ahead and give this thing a ride. At that point, maybe leave you with some few cinematic shots, and that'll be the end of the episode. So, see you after that. Okay, alright. I think the point of view is a really fun thing to do in Planet Coaster, and I'm really glad that's part of the game, because that's something that I really enjoy doing, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching as we go through there. So, what we got is some nice cinematic shots from just the cinematic view of the camera option there. And I hope you guys enjoyed these 2 little episodes for Planet Coaster. We are going to be moving on to something else, and of course I am open to any suggestion that you guys want to see built next time. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.